Hey guys, in this video, we're going to take a look at a self-hosted service that will not only block ads on your network, but will also monitor your network for new devices as well as changes to existing devices. But first, a quick message from today's video sponsor. This episode is sponsored by Linode, the largest independent cloud computing provider. If you don't want to, or can't for whatever reason, self-host applications the way we talk about on this channel, Linode provides virtual servers that make it easy and affordable for you to host anything in the cloud. You can set up any of the applications that they have available in their marketplace with just a few clicks, or you can set up your own Docker VPS and install basically whatever you'd like in a Docker container. They have load balancers and firewalls available to help keep your apps online and safe. If you run into any trouble getting set up, Linode comes with amazing 24/7 customer support by phone or ticket, along with hundreds of guides and tutorials to help you get started. Sign up today at linode.com/dvtech and get a $100 60-day credit on your new Linode account. Links are in the description. So in the past, we have taken a look at hardware devices like Stingbox, as well as self-hosted services like Pi.Alert and AdGuard. But in this video, we're going to take a look at a service called Pi.Alert that kind of takes those two ideas and mixes them together into a semi-single self-hosted service. So let's jump over to my desktop and take a look. So this Pi.Alert service is actually part of the Pi.Alert setup that we're going to take a look at in this video. Now we've taken a look at Pi.Alert in the past, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on it. Just know that it is part of the Pi.Alert configuration that you can, if you want to, not enable, or you can enable it. I will show that when we go through the setup process. But what we really want to take a look at more specifically in this video is Pi.Alert itself and its dashboard. So if we jump over to this other tab that I've got open, here we can see that I currently have 55 devices recognized on my network over whether it was today or yesterday or whatever. It's recognized 55 devices. Currently 45 of those are connected. It has recognized 16 new devices. I don't have anything favorited, and I don't have anything marked as down presently because I don't have anything set as always online, basically, is I think the term that they use. If we look below that, though, we can see all of the devices that are listed. Now, I will say that there is a bit of setup once you've got this up and running, once it has recognized your devices. As far as naming the actual device, we've got IP addresses over here. And if we actually open this up, we can actually get the MAC address. So it's possible that you could then do some searching online for who that MAC address belongs to, and then kind of do some sleuthing as far as what that device is, if you're not sure what it is just by default. And so basically you've got the option to actually name the device here. We're gonna, let's see if we can actually do this. Let's do a MAC lookup, and let's put this IP address in here. Let's put that MAC address in there and see what it says. So that is a TP-Link device there, so I can probably assume that that is my secondary mesh node on my network. So if I wanted to come back over here, what I could do, let's just grab that and then come over here to Pi.Alert and give it a name. And then the owner would be house in this case. The type would be... let's scroll down. There are multiple types: smartphone, tablet, laptop, mini PC, PC printer, server, single board computer, game console, smart TV, lots and lots of options. Here, we're going to call this an AP for access point. I'm pretty sure that that's what that is. The vendor will be TP-Link. And then we've got groups that we could, in this case, we'd say always on. And the location, in this case, would be, let's say other. And then this would be Studio AP. Status is offline. And then we've got first session, last IP address. So this actually shows me the last IP address that it found, which tells me that this isn't actually the Studio AP. This is the main AP. Static IP, absolutely. How often do we want to look? Do we want to get alerts on all events? Absolutely for that. Do we want to get an alert when this is down? You could say yes on this. However, this won't necessarily give you a notification if your network is down, because it does require your network to be up to send the notification, because we're going to use an SMTP server to get our notifications for Pi.Alert. We can say skip repeated notifications during. We can give different parameters there. Do we want to get a notification this is a new device, or do we want to mark this as a new device or an archive device? Yes or no by the check marks there. And then some devices like cell phones and tablets will have things like random MAC addresses. We'll just automatically recognize that it is a random MAC address, I suppose. We're going to go ahead and say save that.
Then we're going to come over here and look at sessions. Here we can see when it was connected, the duration, or when it was disconnected, the duration and the IP address. Its presence, we're going to kind of get, here we can see that it was connected all of this time here. This server, this Pi.Alert server has been up and down multiple times over the last couple of weeks as I've been digging into Pi.Alert, how it works, that sort of thing. And then events, here we can see there are no specific events in there, but we've got sessions, its overall time online, no down alerts, but it currently says it is offline. It just hasn't properly done a scan recently. This server's only been up for a few minutes again. So that's kind of what the devices look like there. If we come back over to here, hopefully, there we go. So we've got Pi.Alert, Pi-hole, and then we've got our TP-Link Corporation Limited and the IP address there. There's my internet IP address that, of course, I'll have to blur. But, of course, here we can see all of the statuses for new devices, online devices, offline devices, all of that's in there. So, again, you would, after this setup has been completed and it recognizes everything, or as it's recognizing things, you would want to go through and actually name these different devices so that you can, at a quick glance, see what's going on with each one. So if we open one of these up, let's go to details. Again, we can just do a quick search of the MAC address. Now, you're not always going to get a positive result here. So this Noon technology here tells me, just from previous experience, that I know that this is one of my Terra master devices. So then I could come back over here to Pi.Alert and say, oops, Terra master, oops. And then the owner would be house, the type. We scroll down, we can find NAS, vendor is Terra master. Of course, if you wanted to, you could be more granular and figure out which Terra master device this is. We're gonna click save. And then if I come over back to my devices and scroll down, there's my Terra master. This is 1.38. So if I open that up, it'll give me a better idea. This is my Silent Bob device. So if I come back over to here and edit this, I could then call this Silent Bob, like so, and then click save. And then it will keep that name associated with this MAC address and all of its relevant information. So when I come back over here, it will give me better ideas of what's going on as far as sessions, presence, down alerts, things like that. So like I said, there is a bit of setup to this, but what's cool about this is once it is set up properly, you will get notifications for different events that have happened on your network that it has recognized. So if we come over to my email account, here we can see that I've received several Pi.Alert reports, and we can see that if we just open this up, we can see that we've got a MAC address here for new devices and an IP address. So if we wanted to, we could just maybe pop that open, see what this is. Of course, that's my printer, so that's good to know. If I wanted to go look for that IP address in Pi.Alert, there we go. So now I can say I'm looking for number 53. These should, in theory, if I scan or do that correctly, then I should be able to come over here and find .53, which is this guy, 53 right there. So I know that this is my printer. The owner, of course, would be home or house type. We'll scroll down until we find printer. Hopefully that's in there somewhere. There it is. My vendor will be HP. My group will be always on location. This one's actually in my living room. So then we can click save. And that's just kind of the setup process for each individual device you might need to do if you wanted to go that route. But just know that that's kind of the process for that. So now let's jump over to presence. Here we can see we've got 56 devices, 44 connected, 17 new, 1 down alert. Of course, that is our router, our main router, our 1.1 router there. And here we can see all of the uptime for the devices. Basically, we can see still connected, disconnection. We can get the IP address. Lots of information in here. This one is off. We've got other devices that are off. Other devices that are brand new to the network. We can kind of see those right there. And of course, down here, we've got the known devices at the bottom. And events, we can get an idea of kind of what's going on, specifically by date, by event type, by IP address, and of course by device name. We can kind of get a look at all of the information that's in there. Oh, here's actually a good thing to see where it actually recognized an IP change. We can see that the previous IP was 72, but currently it's 56. Again, 73 was previously 56 as well. That tells me that that's probably another one of my NAS devices. 66 was previously 41. 10 was previously 52. You kind of get the idea that it will recognize a device, and if it changes IP addresses, it will alert you here. So I really love what Pi.Alert is doing. So now that we've kind of taken a look at the dashboard here, let's actually go through the process of getting Pi.Alert set up. What we're going to do in this case, I'm going to set this up in a Proxmox container. You could do this, like I said, in a Proxmox container, a VM, bare metal, Raspberry Pi, however you want to handle this. There are lots and lots of options, but the installation process is very, very simple. So let's jump into that now. If you'd like to get early access to my content, you can head over to Patreon, become a channel member here on YouTube, or head over to dbtech.fans. And any of those ways will help support the channel and give you early access to ad-free content. Okay, so here we are on my dashboard. This is my demo server dashboard for Proxmox. What I want to do, just to keep things simple, is I want to create a container up here. Again, you could do this on bare metal or a VM, however you want to do this. Again, I'm just doing this for the sake of simplicity here with a Proxmox container. So I'm going to click Create CT. My node name will be PVE1, that's fine. Container ID is 106, again, fine. I'm going to call this Pi.Alert demo, like so, and I'll give it a password. And then once we've got that, we can come over here and click template. My storage will be local. What I want to do is just use a Debian. I'm going to use Debian 11 standard. That's fine. My disks, it says 8 gigs. I'm going to give it 16 just to be sure. CPU, we're going to give it 1 core. That's perfectly fine for this. Memory, I'm going to go ahead and just give it a gig. I'm sure 512 will be fine, but, oops. But I'm going to give it a gig of memory and swap. My network, I'm going to set as DHCP for right now. That's fine. My DNS, I'm going to set this as 1.1.1.1 and 1.0.0.1, like so. And then confirm, and then we'll create after, or start after created and click finish. So once this is done, we'll get logged in, and then we'll be able to get Pi.Alert installed. Okay, so now we have our IP address ready to go, so we'll have that in our brains for later. What I want to do now is actually come over here to this GitHub repository, which I will, of course, have linked in the description down below. And here we can kind of get an idea of what we've already looked at. There are some different scan methods. There's an ARP scan, a Pi-hole scan, and a DNS mask scan. Of course, that requires a DHCP setup. We're not going to do that. What we're actually going to do is either method 1 or method 2. And of course, we've got more information that we've already taken a look at earlier in the video, but here we've got just a simple one-step automated install. However, if you're not comfortable doing that, which I know some of you won't be, that's fine. What we can do is actually open up this installation guide step by step here, and then we can scroll down. Again, it's got the one-step automated install and update. However, there are more instructions on how to do a step-by-step install. If you want to go through all of this yourself, you're perfectly able to do that if you want to do that, but we're not going to do that for the sake of this video. What I'm going to do is actually grab that command right there. We're going to come back over to our Proxmox and right-click and click paste and click enter. Oops. Command not found for curl. Awesome. All right, so we'll do apt install curl. And then we'll hit enter just to say yes. And then we'll go ahead and paste in that command again and hit enter. Okay, this script will install Pi.Alert on this system using this path. Do you want to continue? Yep, that's fine. Yep, we'll go ahead and click say yes. Do you want to install Pi-hole before installing Pi.Alert? In this case, I would say absolutely yes. The installation wizard of Pi-hole, select this option. So it's telling you, hey, if you're going to do this, do it the right way, and here is the right way, which is installing the web admin interface as well as installing the web server LT or light HTTP. So do you want to activate the Pi-hole DHCP server? I don't. I'm using DHCP through my TP-Link mesh network. That's an extra node I've got laying around, I guess, for the fun of it. So no on the DHCP server. Do I want to use Python that's already installed, Python 2 or Python 3? Let's just use the already installed version. That's fine. Do you want to mark new devices as known devices during the first scan? Let's go ahead and say yes, because I'm pretty confident with what I've got on my network. I'm just going to say yes. Pi.Alert can notify you by email when a network event occurs. Do you want to activate this feature? Yes. That's how you're going to get your notifications. Email notifications need an SMTP server, i.e. smtp.gmail.com. Do you want to continue activating this feature? Now, here's the thing about this. If you're just using a regular Gmail account, I believe they've actually disabled the ability to do this unless you still have access to app passwords. Yeah, I know if you have a G Suite account like I do, what I'm going to use for this setup, the app passwords are the way to go for this. However, if you don't have access to app passwords, you may need to find an alternate method for an SMTP server. You might look at SendGrid, for instance. However, the thing to note about this is you will get an email every 5 minutes anytime it finds a new thing. So just expect to get an email every 5 minutes. That's 12 emails an hour. That's what, 288 emails a day, roughly, if you use the SMTP setup. So keep that in mind if you're using a service like SendGrid that will only give you X number of free email sends per time period. So that's just some math you'll have to do on your own to figure out what the best solution for your setup is. So I do want to continue using this method. Notify alerts sent to this email address. That's fine. So we'll go ahead and say OK. Our SMTP server, again, I'm going to use Gmail. Make sure that you've got the right setup for your use case here. My SMTP user, again. And then the SMTP password, of course, you'll want to provide this. I'm not going to show you what my SMTP password is, but just know that that's what you're going to put in here. And then the next step says Pi.Alert can update your dynamic DNS IP. I'm not going to be using a dynamic DNS, so we're not going to activate this. However, if you want to, you can. Okay, the configuration is finished. To update the configuration, edit root/Pi.Alert/config/Pi.Alert.conf. That's really good to keep in mind. In case you accidentally fat finger something here, you can go back and correct it later if you need to. So say OK. The installation will now start. So all we've been doing is just feeding it information for the configuration file that it's going to generate for all of the stuff that we're setting up. So we'll click OK. So now it'll go through this installation process. We'll intervene as necessary, but basically we're almost done with this whole process. OK, so it says this installer will transform your device into a network-wide blocker. OK. So Pi.hole is free, but powered by your donations. OK. The Pi.hole server, the Pi.hole is a server, so it needs a static access or address to function properly. That's fine. Yes, I want to continue. Then you can choose your upstream DNS provider if you want to do that. Lots of options in here. I'm going to say Cloudflare with DNSSEC turned on. We're just going to use the default launcher or the default block list in here. You can add more block lists later if you want to. Click OK. Do you want to install the web admin interface? Remember, we were told to do that earlier, so we're going to say OK. And we do want to install the web server Lite Lite TPD or whatever you want to call it there. We'll say OK. Do you want to log queries? Of course, yeah. And then you want to show everything, hide domains and clients. Anonymous mode, we want to show everything. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then it's going to go ahead and finish up more of its installation process here. Okay, so here it says, configure your devices to use the Pi.hole as their DNS server using this IP address for IPv4. We didn't configure IPv6, so that's not in there at all. Here we can see, it says view the web interface at Pi.hole/admin or the IP address /admin. And then here is your login password. Now, of course, we're going to want to change that, but I'm going to save it for right now. Click OK. So here we can see that it is doing some additional installations for ARP-scan and DNS utilities, installing PHP, SQLite 3. We're just going to kind of let this finish up with what it's doing here, and then again intervene as necessary. Okay, so now we have our installation process finished up. So the next thing we want to do is actually head over to 192.168.1.55/Pi.Alert, and here we can see all of the devices that it has found. Again, 44 connected. We can change this from 10 to like 500 or whatever. And again, this is where we're going to have to kind of go through that setup process to name each of our devices. But here we can see all of the IP addresses that are available, whether or not it's got a random MAC address, and what the status is. In this case, all of these are online. We've got our devices that we can list over here. Our presence, as far as all of this, is going to be brand new, so there'll be nothing in here. And then our events, we can kind of see what's going on right here. Of course, another IP address to blur. But you kind of get the idea of the setup process for this. So just so you can see, I've still got Stingbox up and running, and it did recognize the new IP address and MAC address. So that's definitely something. And here in a few minutes, I will probably start getting notifications from Pi.Alert as far as new devices on the network. But the other thing I want to do just real quick before we wrap this up is show how to change the Pi.hole password just so that we don't have to try to remember the password that we had set up earlier, or that was set up on our behalf earlier, rather. So what we're going to do, now that we're still logged in here, what we're going to do is type in Pi.hole dash A dash P and hit enter. So now it says enter a new password or leave blank for no password. We don't want to do that. Okay, so a new password is set. So now we should be able to log in. If we come over to here and change this to admin. Here is our new Pi-hole, and of course it's already got us logged in, but and we're not seeing anything here because I haven't updated my DNS to reflect the new setup. Okay guys, so this has been kind of a long video, and of course we spent most of our time taking a look at Pi.Alert because we've already taken a look at Pi-hole, but Pi.Alert, of course, like I said, will show when a new device connects to the network by scanning the network periodically to look for new devices, or when a device's IP address has changed, it will give us notifications for all of those different things, and I really do appreciate that. But I think that kind of covers everything I wanted to cover in this video. Again, everything will be linked in the description down below, but I think with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you guys for spending a few minutes of your day with me. I really do appreciate that, and I think with all that said, I'm going to wrap this up. So I will talk to you guys in the next video.